In my opinion, directors and senior management team should be only paid out when a company makes profits. If you agree with me, please comment below the video, but I'm really shocked, and probably as a whole nation is, about Thomas Cook failure. It is just unbelievable that such a company, after 178 years, has gone into difficulties. To me, the obvious thing that went wrong is a lack of leadership. I know there are plenty of things that people blame it for: last year's weather, fuel prices, the shift in the market where people started ordering online. That are all true things, but they are tangibles. But the truth is that it is the lack of a leader that managed to oversee all these necessary changes beforehand that caused the misery of Thomas Cook. Now, obviously, every company fails because of lack of money. There's no other reason. I've never heard a company fail because they had too much money sitting on the bank account. So let me explain to you, because you might think that with a large company, money is something that no one understands, but that's not quite true. So let's imagine that a company's bank account is nothing different than a water tank with an outlet coming out of it. And basically, if we have money coming into the business, then these are our customers that pay us, and the water or the money that comes out is the payments required to keep the company running. So it's either overheads, expenses, and actually there should be also a profit. But if we draw it here, we have water coming out. Now, it is quite obvious when we think about it as a water tank that if there's more water pouring out of that tank than there is coming in, then the level of the water will go down. It's as simple as that. And obviously vice versa, if there's more water coming in than pouring out, then the water level will go up. And no matter what the size of the business, the mechanics behind it are very, very simple. Now, the problem with large businesses, or when businesses are managed by especially MBA graduates or people that are not entrepreneurs and just look at the numbers, when they start looking at various ratios. And one of the ratios, and I've witnessed very closely a company which I tried saving out of administration that experienced exactly the same thing, where the main KPI was to leverage the money. That is exactly what is being taught at various schools, and managers without an entrepreneurial vision focus only on squeezing out as much as they can from the business. And the main KPI behind it is leverage. So in other words, the problem is that if we have money sitting on the bank account, then the money is basically doing nothing. So it's not earning more money. And unfortunately, in many cases, the owner or the director is judged whether he is reinvesting the money correctly. And I do agree that it's in some cases, I mean, having millions or billions sitting on a bank account means that you should actually reinvest in the business. Not only just to spend the money, but actually to make sure you stay on top of developments, especially IT developments. But the problem is that if you start focusing on leveraging this amount of money, then the extreme is if the tank is empty. That means you are leveraging all of your money, so whatever comes in pours out straight away. But that is only one level of extreme. There is actually another level of extreme, and the other level is that instead of water coming out of your pot, you actually ask a bank to provide you with an overdraft facility which is there to feed more water or money for the day-to-day running of the business. It sounds very nice, it's just an overdraft facility, but that is when a company can actually have nothing in the tank whatsoever and only rely on external financing. And on paper, this director would be scored very high because he is really putting his money to work. It's even further, he's putting other people's money to work, which on paper sounds great, but the result is exactly what we can expect, like with Thomas Cook. And the reason why I blame leadership is because it is the leader that needs to make sure that the company continues to trade for decades to go. And such a shame that after almost 180 years, all the CEOs and directors managed to keep that company afloat, and now this team, the senior management team, has ruined the whole company. They should be ashamed of themselves. In my opinion, this is white collar crime, and I know I'm fully responsible for these words. I've seen it myself, and to me this is just something that should not be accepted in the business world. In my opinion, like I said at the very beginning, the owners, the senior management team, the directors, vice directors, whatever it is, they should be only paid out of profit. So in other words, once we've paid for all our employees, for all the other running costs, for the lease costs, only if there's money left, that is when the directors, senior management team should be paid. And I don't mean just bonuses, I mean just normal salary. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, they know exactly what I'm saying, because entrepreneurs work for free. They do not care about how much they're going to get paid, because their vision is much more motivating than just the money. I'm an entrepreneur and I've worked for free. I've actually worked for free all the time, and I only get paid out of profit. And no matter how big my company is going to be, my plan is to build a global conglomerate of companies famous for their service and reliability. I will always make sure that this is the case, where profits for directors are paid out only out of, profits, their salaries are paid out of profits. So going back, if the company like Thomas Cook relies on external funding, then what they're essentially doing is asking the bank, let's put it as a dollar sign, to pour more money into the overdraft facility to keep them afloat. Yet, even though they had an empty tank here, it all dried out, the management team over the last 5 years has awarded themselves bonuses of £20 million, and it is said around £50 million over the last decade. And that is just appalling. It is just something unbelievable, and honestly, they should be put to court and hopefully even to jail, to be honest, because it's just unacceptable. The other shocking truth is the amount of losses that Thomas Cook made in the first half of 2019. So their annual turnover was around £9 billion. That is 9,000 millions, just to get you to understand what numbers we're talking. Yet they've made a minus £1.5 billion loss in the first half of 2019. So in other words, if it was the same for the year, then they've made a minus £3 billion loss, and that means that this is minus 33% of their turnover. A business in the industry should make around 5 to 10% net profit. So if we add that, then they should be making around 38 to 43% more in only to get to a profit. So that just shows how far out they were in terms of making a profit. That meant that this outfeed was just so massive that no matter how much you poured in, it was just impossible to keep it full. And that is why the government did not decide to help out. And I know there were some disgruntled employees, and there were 22,000 of them, which I very feel sorry for them. But they complain, why didn't the government pour in more money? But the truth is that the hole was just too big. We could even say it was like a tank without the bottom. And whatever you poured in would pour it out anyway. If they bailed it out, they would only save it for the next month or two, but we would be back to square one a few months later. So unfortunately, it was the right decision. But having said that, again, the directors, the senior management team should be put on trial, and this should be treated as crime, be it white collar crime, but it is crime. To summarize, like I said, in my opinion, the only reason why Thomas Cook failed was because of the wrong leader. Leaders are people who inspire the rest of the company. They have a vision, and they inspire the people to do whatever it takes to achieve that vision. Unfortunately, when you have a senior management team that's only looking at their own pocket, then unfortunately the outcome cannot be different. And I really think that there should be some measures made to ensure that, especially with large companies like these, the senior management team, especially the CEO, the main director, they are visionaries rather than just profiteers who want to make a profit. And again, going back to the numbers, 22,000 employees lost their job. It's a town, it's almost a city that lost their work. Also, there are 19 million customers every year. So just doing the maths quickly, there are probably around 5 million or so people who've paid in for their holidays, and they will never go on their holidays. There are also around 4,500 hotels that worked exclusively for Thomas Cook. So as of literally yesterday, they have no money coming in. So for their water tanks, suddenly someone's taken this away, yet they have all the overheads and expenses to cover anyway. So there will be a ripple knock-on effect on so many people. It is just unbelievable, and that is why I am convinced that this is white collar crime. Thank you very much. I would very like to hear from you what your opinion is, but in my opinion, like I said, the senior management team should only be paid if there are profits left at the end of the year. And that is why when I first heard about Thomas Cook, this straight away reminded myself of this book written by Simon Sinek, who's a great author, The Fact That Leaders Eat Last. And I think there's not much to add to it. Thank you.